Okay, so we just left behind the discussion of the major overhaul in our immigration laws during the Cold War era, specifically in the 1950s and 1960s. It began with the McCarran-Walter Act, and it culminated with the 1965 Immigration Act, the Hart-Celler Act. Now, let me remind you the context for here. Number one was the attitude, politically speaking, of racial liberalism, whereby the government would intervene actively in race-based matters in our country rather than, having the state and state laws take care of their own racial issues. And that's because the Cold War context here, because we wanted to attract those third world nations that happened to be comprised of darker skinned people. And Soviet propaganda was effectively exploiting the fact that the United States was racist in regards to the treatment of ethnic minorities in the country. And this propaganda was very effective. Why? Because it was absolutely true. There's no way the U.S. could deny such accusations because there was such thing as laws and, of course, Jim Crow segregation right there in the open. So we could not deny such accusations. Really, the only thing that the government could do was to become actively involved in nullifying those race-based policies and laws and replacing them with laws that are not race-based. Now, you can't ignore as well, and of course they're closely connected, but you can't ignore the civil rights era after World War II. And this deals more with the moralistic issue rather than the political issue or the Cold War issue. That is, the civil rights was that social reform to end Jim Crow and to end, in general, racist policies in our country. So the two converge during this era. Now, I also mentioned that the policymakers of the 1965 Immigration Act did not feel that the Asian population, at that time being only 0.2% of the entire U.S. population, that Asians would not take advantage of family reunification, all right, because of the very, very small number. And even nativists felt that this would not be the case, all right, that Asians would make a significant impact in terms of increasing their population. Let me repeat again that quote from that nativist. He says this, quote, Asiatics, having far fewer immediate family members in the United States than Southern Europeans, will automatically arrive in far fewer numbers than Italians, Greeks, and other Southern European stock. Okay? So what happens is this. As it would turn out, though the policy was intended towards Southern and Eastern European immigrants and their generations, well, those groups would not take advantage of family reunification as expected by the policymakers. Okay, there's some economic reasons for this. For example, let's say in the late 60s into the 70s, there was no real economic crisis afflicting many of these countries, let's say in the Mediterranean parts of Europe or the eastern parts of Europe. Or those countries were under a communist rule anyway. So they really didn't take advantage of family reunification as expected. Stated otherwise, there was no significant increase of immigration coming to the United States post 1965 due to family reunification. However, the one group that did take advantage of family reunification are the Asians, okay, Asian Americans in the United States at this time. So stated otherwise, there's going to be an exponential increase in Asian American population post 1965 through the ensuing decades, precisely due to family reunification. But again, it seems like that would not make a significant dent, so to speak, in terms of total population numbers, right? How could this happen? Well, it's explained largely through what social scientists and historians call chain migration. And the definition here is the process where one immigrant brings family members to a new country, and then those new immigrants can then also sponsor their own relatives that follow, and it creates a chain of migration over time. So the key word here is chain of migration over time as well, because it takes a while for chain migration to actually yield visible results. But let's look at this figure here. Let's imagine this one single person is an Asian immigrant. Let's say he is an Asian student. Okay, let's say from Taiwan, right? So he comes here to study in the 1970s, even 1980s. And after a while, he gets a work visa because he has to work. And that means he's a resident eventually. And that means he could take advantage of some of those categories in the family reunification. Let's say he marries someone in Taiwan and sponsors them through one of those family reunification categories, right? So he's able to do that, and let's say this leads to this person here. But let's say he also sponsors some other people, right? Now it shows in the graph 3 additional people. It could be 1, it could be 2 more, or 3 more, even more, right? When you think about it. But for this graph, let's just say he gets married, and this person brings in, or excuse me, this person comes, and he petitions 3 other family members, let's say a sibling and 2 parents, okay? So those individuals, once they're eligible to do so, also petition other family members, okay? So let's say this person was the wife, right, as we stated in our scenario. Okay, so the wife petitions 3 other people, and then we have these individuals here. We stated that they were his parents. Well, the parents even petition other people, let's say their siblings and other family members. Okay, so eventually this leads to this row of people, looks like 10 people, and they do the same thing. Each individual is now capable of petitioning family members. And by the way, family reunification intersects with labor and even, skilled or unskilled labor that's in demand in the United States. So, this is going to lead to more people coming over under family reunification and labor needs. Okay, so you see the effect here. Through the years and even decades, it leads to exponential increase in terms of the number of people that are coming over here. And again, it takes a while for this to be discernible in terms of, a demographic impact. But nonetheless, okay, it does so within, let's say, a decade or 2. And it starts with this one person. Now, imagine this. That's just one person. Imagine all other people taking advantage of family reunification, okay? And imagine even if 0.2% of the entire U.S. population in 1965 are comprised of Asians, what if many of them decided to pursue family reunification? Okay, this is what explains the meteoric rise of Asian American population numbers within the next few decades, okay, through the 90s and 2000s. It's largely due to chain migration. Okay, and again, let me emphasize that those some European immigrants took advantage of. They really didn't pursue it to the extent that Asian Americans did. And what this is going to do is impact Asian American demographics in a profound way, as stated here. As we noted in the past, let's say with the Chinese workers, with the Filipino farm workers, the Manongs, well, there was this significant gender imbalance, right? Well, that's going to end. There's no longer, gendered laws that intersect with race, like the Page Act, right? So you have increased possibilities for family formation and community formation. Moreover, no longer is it just unskilled labor that's going to flow into the United States from Asian countries, as we've seen with the agribusiness workers, the railroad workers, for example. Well, now you're going to have professionals coming over from Asian countries, Asian immigrants that are highly educated and very skilled, right? Like doctors, engineers, professionals in IT, nurses, healthcare, and what have you. And today, this is a big niche in a lot of, let's say, the Silicon Valley occupations, or in San Diego, biotechnology, and so forth. Okay, many Asian immigrants coming in to fill those particular needs in the economy. And also the effect of the 1965 Immigration Act is seen with the increase in the variety of different nationalities and ethnic groups coming from Asia after 1965 through the 70s, 80s, 90s, into the 21st century. Before, as we know, it was just relegated to a few countries, specifically China, Japan, and the Philippines. Now you'll see added to that, of course, more immigration coming from specifically Philippines and China, but also from Taiwan, from Korea, from India. Okay, and by the way, this intersects with the fourth category here in terms of effects of the law upon Asian American history. It's going to lead to new types of refugees. Okay, so this is a distinction here. There's a distinction between refugees and immigrants, right? Refugees are those persons who are migrating from one place to another due to some political context, right, or economic context. And it's government sponsored, as opposed to that individual just deciding on his or her own, volition or decision making to move out of the country to another country, right? So here you have government sponsorship. And of course, these are the Vietnamese, Cambodians, Hmong, and Laotians, which we will discuss in a separate section of this lecture. But this is going to lead to more groups added to what you called Asian America at that time. Okay, so again, a significant increase in the number of different national or ethnic groups constituting Asian America.